She walked in, while the maid was dressing him. Then, discovered the truth about her marriage. Welcome to Mr. Douglas' Tales. May you find strength in your own story, clarity when the path grows dark, and the courage to choose yourself when the world asks you to disappear. Your support through likes and subscriptions helps us continue bringing powerful narratives to light. Now let me tell you how one interrupted moment exposed a betrayal carefully hidden in plain sight. The maid's fingers stopped. Drew kept walking. Her husband didn't turn. The maid's hand fell away from his wrist, the cufflink half-threaded. The fabric hung loose. "I'll come back," the maid said. "Stay." His voice didn't rise. The maid's hand returned to his sleeve. Drew stopped 3 feet from the bed. The silk shirt was new. She'd seen the receipt yesterday, folded inside a bag from a store she'd never heard him mention. The maid worked the gold through the buttonhole, her movements smaller now, controlled. Drew's phone sat on the dresser where she'd left it that morning. The screen was dark. "You're early." He still didn't turn. The meeting ended. The maid finished the first cuff. She moved to the other wrist without looking up. Drew had left the house at 7. The meeting was scheduled for 9. It was 10:15 now. "How was it?" he asked. "Fine." The maid secured the second cufflink. She stepped back, hands folded. "Thank you," he said. The maid left. The door didn't quite close. Drew crossed to the dresser. Her phone was exactly where she'd left it, screen down, charging cable unplugged. The cable had been plugged in when she left. She picked up the phone. The screen woke. No notifications, no missed calls, no messages. She set it down. Her husband adjusted his collar in the mirror. "You said you'd be gone until noon." "I did." "So you're early." She looked at the door the maid had left open. The hallway was empty. "I forgot something," she said. He turned. "What?" She opened the closet. Her black folder sat on the shelf where she'd left it yesterday, tucked behind winter scarves. She pulled it down. "That?" he asked. "Yes?" She opened it. The papers inside were exactly as she'd arranged them. Boarding school applications, 3 of them. She'd printed them Monday night after he'd gone to bed. He was watching her in the mirror. "For James," she said. "I know what they are." She closed the folder. "I should have brought them this morning." "To a budget meeting." "After." He straightened his cuffs. Both cufflinks caught the light. She didn't recognize them. The ones he usually wore were silver, plain. These were gold, initialed. She looked at the monogram. His initials, not the ones she'd given him. "New?" she asked. "Gift." She waited. "From the firm," he added. She nodded. The firm didn't give gifts in October. Bonuses came in December, always. She'd seen the schedule every year for 12 years. He picked up his jacket from the chair. "I have a call at 11. "Here?" "In the study." She'd walked past the study on her way upstairs. The door had been open. The desk was clear. He left the room. She heard his footsteps on the stairs, even, unhurried. Drew looked at the bed. The corner was pulled tight, hospital folded. The maid had already been in to make it. She came at 8 every weekday, left by 9. It was 10:20. Drew set the folder on the dresser and opened the nightstand drawer. Her passport was there, under a stack of books she hadn't touched in months. She pulled it out. The pages were intact, visa stamps visible. She put it back. The drawer below held his things. She opened it. Charging cables, a watch case, receipts folded small. She unfolded one. Dinner, Tuesday night. A restaurant downtown she knew. She'd been there once for their anniversary 3 years ago. The receipt showed 2 appetizers, 2 entrees, 1 dessert, 1 bottle of wine. Tuesday night she'd been home with James. Her husband had said he was meeting a client. She refolded the receipt, put it back, closed the drawer. Her phone buzzed on the dresser. She picked it up. A text from the school. Reminder, parent-teacher conference, tomorrow, 2 p.m. She'd scheduled it 2 weeks ago. She looked at her calendar. The appointment was still there. Another text arrived. From her lawyer. Got your voicemail. Can you come in today? She hadn't left a voicemail. She typed, when did I call? 3 dots appeared. Then, this morning, 9:47. She checked her call log. No outgoing calls after 8 a.m. She texted back, I didn't call you. The dots appeared again. Stopped, started, stopped. Then, someone did. From your number. Drew looked at the charging cable on the dresser. Unplugged. She'd left it plugged in. She walked to the door the maid had left open. The hall was still empty. She pulled the door closed and turned the lock. Then she sat on the bed and opened her recent calls. The list showed exactly what she'd expected until 9:47 a.m. Then a single outgoing call, 32 seconds. To her lawyer's office. She hadn't made that call. She opened her text messages. The thread with her lawyer showed her last message from Monday. I need to talk. Can we meet this week? His response, Thursday it's 3. Her reply, perfect. Nothing between then and now except his message 2 minutes ago. She stood and walked back to the dresser, opened the drawer again, moved the books aside. Her passport was still there. Underneath it, folded once, was a photocopy of the boarding school applications. She hadn't made a copy. She pulled it out. The pages were crisp, recently printed. The top corner had a date stamp from the printer downstairs. This morning. 8:14 a.m. She'd left the house at 7. Drew folded the papers and put them in her jacket pocket. Then she put the passport in the other pocket. She unlocked the door and opened it. The hallway was still empty. She walked to the stairs and stopped at the top. Voices below. Her husband's. Low and even. Another voice. Unfamiliar. She descended halfway and stopped where the landing turned. From there she could see into the front hall. Her husband stood near the door, phone in hand. He wasn't on a call. The screen was dark. A man in a suit stood across from him. Not security, not staff. A briefcase at his feet. She came back early, her husband said. The man nodded. That's fine. She said the meeting ended. Did she say why? No. The man picked up his briefcase. I'll wait in the car. Her husband didn't respond. The man left. The door closed with the soft click of someone trained not to make noise. Drew stayed on the landing. Her husband looked at his phone, scrolled, stopped. Then he put it in his pocket and walked toward the study. She waited until the study door closed. Then she continued down the stairs. The kitchen was empty. She opened the door to the garage. Her car was there, parked where she'd left it. She got in and started the engine. The garage door opened. She backed out. The black sedan was parked across the street. The man from the hallway sat in the driver's seat. He didn't look up as she passed. Drew drove 3 blocks and pulled into a coffee shop parking lot. She took out her phone and called her lawyer. He answered on the first ring. Drew. I didn't call you this morning. Silence. Then. Someone used your phone. Yes. What did they say? I don't know. You tell me. The voicemail said you needed to cancel Thursday. That you changed your mind. Drew looked at the clock on the dashboard. 10:43 a.m. I'll be there at 3, she said. Today? Yes. I have, he paused. I'll move things. Come to the side entrance. Why? Just do it. He hung up. Drew sat in the parking lot and opened her banking app. The joint account showed the usual balance. She switched to her personal account. The balance was lower than it should have been. She scrolled through the transactions. A withdrawal. This morning. 9:15 a.m. $5,000. ATM. A location she didn't recognize. She hadn't made a withdrawal. She called the bank. The automated system picked up. She pressed through the menus until she reached a representative. I need to report unauthorized transactions. Account number? She gave it. And your name? She gave that too. One moment. Typing sounds. Then, I'm showing a withdrawal this morning at 9:15. Is that the transaction in question? Yes. That was processed with your PIN and card. I didn't make it. Was your card stolen? No, it's in my wallet. Can you verify that? Drew opened her wallet. Her debit card was there, exactly where it should be. It's here, she said. More typing. The withdrawal was made at a branch location downtown. Do you have access to that branch? I've never been there. I see. I'm going to transfer you to our fraud department. The line clicked. Hold music. Drew ended the call. She opened her wallet again and pulled out every card. Debit card, credit card, driver's license, insurance card. All there. Nothing missing. Behind the cards, tucked into a sleeve she rarely used, was a folded piece of paper. She pulled it out. A receipt. Same restaurant as the one in the nightstand. Different date. Last week, Thursday. She'd been home last Thursday, too. Parent volunteer night at James's school. The receipt showed the same order. 2 appetizers, 2 entrees, 1 dessert, 1 bottle of wine. She put everything back in her wallet and started the car. The law office was downtown, 20 minutes in traffic. Drew parked in the garage across the street and walked to the side entrance her lawyer had mentioned. A door marked Deliveries. No handle on the outside. She knocked. The door opened. Her lawyer stood there, no jacket, sleeves rolled. Come in. She followed him through a hallway lined with file boxes, up a narrow staircase, into a small office with no windows. He closed the door. Sit, he said. She sat. He leaned against the desk. Tell me what's happening. Someone used my phone to call you. Someone withdrew money from my account. Someone copied papers I printed Monday night. When did you notice? This morning. I came home early. From where? A meeting. What meeting? She stopped. I don't know. He waited. I left the house at 7, she said. I told my husband I had a budget meeting at 9. I don't know why I said that. I didn't have a meeting. Where did you go? I drove around. I parked at the reservoir. I sat there until 10. Why? I don't know. He pulled a notepad from the desk and wrote something down. You came to me Monday. You said you wanted to file. Yes. You said you suspected infidelity. Yes. Did you tell your husband? No. Did you tell anyone else? No. He set the pen down. Someone knows. Drew looked at the door. It was solid, no window. Who's the man in the black sedan? What sedan? Outside my house. He was inside this morning, talking to my husband. Her lawyer picked up his phone and typed something. Then he turned the screen toward her. This man? The photo showed a man in a suit. Not the same suit, but the same face. Yes, she said. Private investigator. Your husband hired him 3 weeks ago. How do you know? Because I've seen him before. He works for the firm your husband uses. For what? Divorce cases mostly. High net worth. Drew felt something cold move through her chest. He's filing. I don't know, but he's gathering something. Evidence. Probably, she stood. I need to get James. From school? Yes. It's 11 o'clock. School doesn't end until 3. I don't care. He stepped in front of the door. If you pull him out of school without cause, that's a flag. You know that. She did know that. Any deviation from routine, any sign of panic or instability, it all went into the record. Sit down, he said. She sat. He returned to the desk. Let's go through this. The applications you printed. Where are they? In my jacket. The originals? At the house. In your closet? Yes. Could he have found them? Maybe. What about your phone? Do you have it locked? Yes. Biometric or passcode? Passcode. Does he know it? She thought about that. I don't think so. But he could. Yes. He wrote something else down. The withdrawal. You said it was made with your card and PIN. The bank said that. But your card is in your wallet. Yes. Do you have another card? A replacement? No. Could someone have cloned it? I don't know how that works. He tapped the pen against the notepad. Where do you keep your wallet? My purse. Where do you keep your purse? In the bedroom, sometimes the kitchen. And your husband has access. Of course. So does the staff. She hadn't thought about the staff. The maid, the cook, the driver. All of them moved through the house freely. All of them had been there longer than she had. The maid was in our room this morning, she said, after she usually leaves. Doing what? Helping him dress. Her lawyer looked up. Helping him dress. Yes. Your husband doesn't dress himself? He does. That's why I noticed. He set the pen down again. Drew, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. She waited. Have you done anything that could be used against you? Anything at all? Like what? An affair, substance use, anything that could indicate unfitness? No. Are you sure? Yes. What about your finances? Have you moved money? Hidden anything? No. Purchased anything unusual? She thought about the boarding school applications, about the research she'd done on schools in other states, about the apartment listings she'd looked at online late at night when her husband was asleep. I've been looking at places to live, she said. Where? Different cities. Which ones? Boston, Portland, Santa Fe. Have you contacted anyone? Realtors? Landlords? No. Have you saved the listings? On my laptop. Personal laptop or shared? Personal. Where is it? At the house. He stood. You need to get it. Today. Before you do anything else. Why? Because if he has access to it, he has access to everything you've searched, every site you've visited, every document you've saved, and if he's building a case, that's exactly what he's looking for. Drew's hands felt cold. What kind of case? Custody. He's going to argue that you're planning to leave the state with James, that you're unstable, secretive, possibly a flight risk. I'm not. I know. But the evidence suggests otherwise. The boarding school applications in different states, the apartment searches, the sudden budget meeting that didn't exist, the early return home. He paused. It looks like you're planning to run. I'm not running, I'm planning. The court won't see a difference. She stood again. I need to leave. Listen to me first. He moved back to the door. You're going to go home. You're going to act normal. You're going to get your laptop and bring it to me. Don't delete anything. Don't search anything new. Just bring it. What if he's already copied it? Then we deal with that. But right now, we need to know what we're working with. Drew reached for the door handle. He didn't move. One more thing, he said. The investigator. He's going to follow you. Don't try to lose him. Don't confront him. Just let him follow. Why? Because if you run, it confirms what they're trying to prove. She opened the door. I'm not running. Good. Then act like it. She drove home the same route she'd taken that morning. The black sedan appeared 2 cars behind her within 3 blocks. It stayed there all the way to her street. She pulled into the garage. The sedan parked across the street again. Inside, the house was quiet. She checked the kitchen first. The cook was at the counter chopping vegetables. She looked up when Drew entered. Lunch at 1? The cook asked. Just for me. My husband has a call. He already ate. Drew stopped. When? 11:30. She looked at the clock. It was 12:15. Where is he now? The study, I think. Drew walked to the study. The door was closed. She pressed her ear against it. Silence. She knocked. No answer. She tried the handle. Locked. She walked back to the kitchen. Is my husband still in the study? The cook looked up from the cutting board. He left about 10 minutes ago. Left the house? I think so. I heard the garage. Drew went to the window. Her husband's car was gone. She took the stairs 2 at a time. In the bedroom, she opened the closet. The black folder was still on the shelf. She pulled it down and checked inside. The applications were there, but the pages looked different. Crisper. She held one up to the light. Different paper weight. These weren't her originals. She checked the printer in the corner of the bedroom. The output tray was empty. She opened the paper drawer, half full. She pulled out a sheet and compared it to the application in her hand. Same weight, same brightness. Someone had reprinted them and replaced the originals. Drew put the folder back and grabbed her laptop from the desk. She checked the browser history. The last entry was from this morning. 9:32 a.m. She'd been at the reservoir at 9:32. The entry showed a search. Boarding schools, Massachusetts. She hadn't searched that. She'd already narrowed her list weeks ago. The Massachusetts schools hadn't made the cut. She scrolled further. More searches, all from this morning, all between 9:15 and 10 Subadikpurs. Apartment listings in Boston, custody law in Massachusetts, moving companies, storage facilities, every search designed to look like she was planning to leave. She closed the laptop and unplugged it. Then she grabbed her passport from the nightstand drawer. In the drawer below, the receipt from Tuesday was gone. She checked her husband's side of the closet. The new shirt was hanging there, pressed and perfect. She checked the pockets of his other jackets. Empty. She looked in his shoe boxes, under the bed, in every drawer and corner. The receipt was gone. Drew put the laptop in a bag and left the bedroom. In the hallway, she stopped. The door to James's room was open. It was never open during the day. She walked in. The room looked normal. Bed made, toys organized, books on the shelf. She checked his closet. His clothes were there, hanging in order of color like he insisted. She checked under the bed. Nothing but a few forgotten toys. Then she saw the shelf above his desk. The photo was missing. It was a picture of Drew and James from last summer at the beach. James had insisted on keeping it there, next to his rock collection. Now, the space was empty. She checked his desk drawers. Not there. She checked the bookshelf, the toy chest, the closet again. The photo was gone. Drew left the room and went downstairs. The cook was still in the kitchen. Did anyone go into James's room today? The cook looked up. Not that I saw. You're sure? I've been here since 8. No one went upstairs except you and your husband. Drew walked back to the front hall. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. We should talk. She stared at the screen. Typed, "Who is this?" The response came immediately. "You know who." She didn't respond. Another message arrived. "I have something you'll want to see." Drew typed, "What?" Not over text. "Meet me." "Where?" "The reservoir." 2 p.m. She looked at the time. 12:47 p.m. "Why there?" "You know why." She put the phone in her pocket and grabbed her keys. The reservoir parking lot was empty except for one car, not the black sedan. A different car, silver, parked in the spot Drew had used that morning. She parked 3 spaces away and waited. At exactly 2 p.m., the driver's door opened. A woman got out. Mid-40s, dark hair, professional clothes. She walked to Drew's car and knocked on the window. Drew lowered it. "You came," the woman said. "Who are you?" "Someone who knows what's happening to you." "That's not an answer." The woman looked around the empty lot. "Can I sit?" Drew unlocked the passenger door. The woman got in and closed the door behind her. "My name is Rachel," she said. "I used to be married to a partner at your husband's firm." Drew's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Used to be." "For 12 years. Then I found out he'd been building a case against me for 18 months. By the time I knew what was happening, I'd already lost." "Lost what?" "Everything. Custody, the house, my accounts. He documented every move I made, every search, every conversation. Made me look unstable, reckless, unfit." Drew felt the cold spread again, deeper this time. "How did you know about me?" "I didn't. Not until yesterday. I have a friend who still works at the firm. She saw your husband's name on a file memo. Strategic custody planning. She called me." "Why would she do that?" "Because she watched it happen to me. She doesn't want to watch it happen to someone else." Drew looked at the water beyond the parking lot, perfectly still, reflecting nothing. "What's in the file?" she asked. "Everything. Phone records, browser history, financial transactions, a timeline of your movements, witness statements from the household staff." "Statements about what?" "Your behavior. Mood swings, erratic decisions, secretive activity. Talking about leaving, talking about taking James away." "I never said that." "I know, but they did." Drew turned to face her. "The staff, the maid, the cook, the driver. All of them. Their statements are dated over the past 3 weeks." "That's not possible. I haven't talked to any of them about leaving." "You don't have to talk. They just have to say you did." Drew's stomach turned. Why would they lie? Because they work for him. Because he pays them. Because they know what happens to people who don't cooperate. What happens? Rachel looked at her hands. They lose their jobs. They get terrible references. They find out how hard it is to work in this city again. Drew thought about the maid this morning, fingers on the cuff, not looking up. The cook, answering questions without meeting her eyes. "What do I do?" she asked. Rachel reached into her jacket and pulled out a USB drive. "This is a copy of the file. Everything they have on you. Read it. Know what you're dealing with. Then call your lawyer and show him." Drew took the drive. "Why are you helping me?" "Because no one helped me. And because I know how this ends if you don't fight back." "How does it end?" "You lose your son. You lose your home. You lose everything you built, and your husband walks away with full custody and a victim narrative." Drew put the drive in her pocket. "Thank you." Rachel opened the door. "One more thing. The investigator following you? He's not just watching. He's staging. Staging what? Encounters, situations, things that look bad in a report. If a man approaches you in public, if someone tries to start a conversation, if anything feels off, walk away. Don't engage. Don't react. They're trying to make you look unstable, and they're very good at it. She got out of the car and walked back to hers. Drew watched her drive away. Then she sat in the parking lot, holding the USB drive, watching the water. She didn't go home. She drove to a library across town and used a public computer. The USB drive held a single folder. Inside were scanned documents, organized by date. She started with the most recent. A memo from the investigator, dated yesterday. Subject: Behavioral Patterns and Preliminary Assessment. The text described a woman growing increasingly erratic, making up meetings that didn't exist, leaving the house at odd hours, returning early without explanation, showing signs of paranoia and secretiveness. Next, a statement from the maid, dated 1 week ago. Mrs. Lawson has become withdrawn and suspicious. She checks her phone constantly and locks doors that used to stay open. Last Thursday, she asked me if anyone had been in her closet. I told her no. She didn't believe me. She looked through everything while I was still in the room, like she thought I was hiding something. Drew remembered that day. She'd noticed her sweaters arranged differently, sleeves folded when they should have been hanging. She'd asked a simple question. The maid had made it sound like an accusation. Next statement: the cook. Mrs. Lawson seems distracted during meals. She barely eats. She leaves food on her plate and goes upstairs without explanation. Last Tuesday, she asked what Mr. Lawson had for dinner the night before. I told her he had a business dinner downtown. She walked away without responding. It felt like she didn't believe me. That night, Drew had found the receipt. The cook hadn't lied, but the statement made it sound like paranoia, not discovery. The driver's statement was shorter. Mrs. C. Lawson asked me to pick up James from school last Friday, then changed her mind and picked him up herself. She didn't explain why. This happened twice in 1 week. She'd changed her mind because James had asked her to pick him up. He'd said it made him feel special when she came instead of the driver. The report made it sound impulsive and controlling. Drew scrolled to the financial records. The withdrawals were highlighted. $5,000 2 weeks ago. $3,000 10 days ago. Both from ATMs she'd never used. Both made with her card and PIN. She opened the browser history log. Weeks of searches, all carefully chosen to build a narrative. Apartment listings in 3 different states. Custody law research. One-way flights. Storage facility rentals. She'd searched some of these things, but not all of them. And not in this order. Someone had filled in the gaps. The phone records showed calls to her lawyer, texts about meetings, but they also showed calls she didn't remember, to a women's shelter, to a crisis hotline, to a family law clinic 3 states away. She'd never called those numbers. At the bottom of the folder was a document titled Preliminary Custody Recommendation. Drew opened it. The text was clinical, detached. It described a mother showing signs of instability and flight risk, a woman making plans to remove the child from his established home, school, and community without the father's knowledge or consent, a pattern of deception, financial irregularity, and emotional volatility. The recommendation was clear: primary custody to the father, supervised visitation for the mother, pending psychiatric evaluation. Drew closed the document. She ejected the drive and left the library. Her lawyer was still in his office. She gave him the drive without explanation. He plugged it in and started reading. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, he looked up. This is comprehensive. Can they use it? Some of it. Not all, but enough. Enough for what? To create doubt, to make you look unstable, to argue that you're a flight risk and James isn't safe with you. Drew sat across from him. What do I do? He ejected the drive and handed it back. We build a counter case. We show that you're stable, responsible, and fully engaged in James's life. We document your routine, your involvement in his school, your relationship with him. We get character witnesses. We show that everything in this file is either exaggerated or fabricated. How long will that take? Months. I don't have months. Then we file first. We get ahead of this. We petition for custody before he does. Based on what? Infidelity, manipulation, financial abuse. I don't have proof of any of that. You have the receipts. You have the timeline. You have the fact that someone is using your phone, your cards, your computer without your knowledge. That's not nothing. Drew thought about the maid's fingers on the cuff, the cook's careful answers, the driver who never met her eyes anymore. They'll say I'm lying, she said. Maybe. But we'll make them prove you are, and in the process we'll expose what they're doing. She stood. I need to pick up James. He checked his watch. School ends in 15 minutes. I know. Drew, I'll be normal. I'll be routine. I'll do exactly what I always do. She left before he could argue. The school pickup line was the same as always. Parents in expensive cars, engines idling, phones in hand. Drew pulled into her usual spot and waited. The black sedan was 5 cars behind her. At 3:15, the doors opened. Children poured out, backpacks bouncing, voices high. Drew scanned for James. He emerged with a group of boys laughing at something one of them had said. When he saw Drew's car, he waved and broke away from the group. He opened the door and climbed in. Hi, Mom. Hi, baby. How was your day? Good. We had art. I made a sculpture. What kind? Abstract. He buckled his seatbelt. Mrs. Palmer said it was very creative. Drew pulled out of the parking lot. The black sedan followed at a distance. Are you hungry? She asked. A little. We'll have a snack when we get home. Okay. They drove in silence for a minute. Then James said, Dad picked me up yesterday. Drew kept her eyes on the road. He did? Yeah. He said you were busy. I was at a meeting. That's what he said. She glanced at him in the rearview mirror. He was looking out the window, expression neutral. Did you go straight home? She asked. No. We went to his office first. Why? He said he had to get something. I waited in the lobby. There was a fish tank. I watched the fish. How long did you wait? I don't know. A while. Drew's hands tightened on the wheel. Then you came home? Yeah. What did you do at home? Homework. Dad helped me with math. That was unusual. Her husband rarely helped with homework. That was Drew's domain. That was nice of him, she said. He's actually pretty good at math. They pulled into the driveway. The black sedan drove past and parked in its usual spot across the street. Inside, the house smelled like dinner. The cook was at the stove, stirring something in a large pot. Hi, James, she said without turning. Hi. Drew watched James drop his backpack by the door and head for the kitchen. Normal routine. Same as always. Wash your hands, Drew said. I know. He went to the bathroom. Drew followed him into the kitchen and leaned against the counter. What's for dinner? She asked the cook. Chicken and rice, roasted vegetables. What time? 6, like always. Is my husband home? Not yet. He called, said he'd be late. How late? He didn't say. James came back, hands still damp. Drew handed him an apple from the bowl on the counter. Go start your homework, she said. Can I watch TV? After homework, he took the apple and headed upstairs. Drew waited until she heard his door close. Then she turned to the cook. I need to ask you something. The cook stopped stirring. Yes? The statement you gave. About me, about my behavior. The cook's face didn't change. I don't know what you're talking about. The investigator. The one who's been asking questions about me. The cook set the spoon down. Mrs. Lawson, I think you should talk to your husband about this. I'm talking to you. I can't help you. Can't or won't. The cook picked up the spoon again. I have to finish dinner. Drew left the kitchen and went upstairs. James's door was closed. She knocked. Yeah? She opened it. He was at his desk, workbook open, pencil in hand. Can I come in? Sure. She sat on his bed. I noticed the photo is gone. The one from the beach. He didn't look up. Dad took it. Why? He wanted to put it in his office. He said it would make him happy to see it while he works. When did he take it? Yesterday, when we came home from his office. Drew felt the cold again, spreading. Did he take anything else? I don't think so. He looked up. Why? No reason. I just noticed it was gone. He went back to his homework. Drew stood and walked to the door. Mom? She turned. Yeah? Is everything okay? She made herself smile. Everything's fine, baby. You sure? I'm sure. She closed the door and went to her bedroom. The laptop was still in the bag where she'd left it. She pulled it out and opened the browser history again. The fake searches were still there, but now there were new ones. From this afternoon, while she'd been at the library. More apartment listings. More research on custody law. A search for emergency custody orders. She hadn't searched any of that. She checked the timestamps. The searches had been made between 2:30 and 3 p.m., right when she'd been picking up James from school. Someone had been in the house, on her computer, adding more searches to the history. Drew closed the laptop and put it back in the bag. Then she took the bag downstairs and put it in her car. When she came back inside, her husband was in the kitchen, jacket off, sleeves rolled. He was talking to the cook, voice low. They both stopped when Drew entered. You're home, she said. Just got here. He smiled. How was pickup? Fine. James is doing homework. Good. He turned back to the cook. I'll eat in the study tonight. Of course. He left without looking at Drew again. She waited until his footsteps faded, then went back upstairs. James was still at his desk. Dad's home, she said. I heard. He's eaten in the study tonight. James nodded but didn't respond. Drew closed the door and went to her room. She locked it behind her and sat on the bed. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. Did you read the file? Drew typed, yes, and? You were right. What are you going to do? Drew looked at the locked door, at the closet where the fake applications sat, at the drawer where her passport had been moved, then returned. I don't know. You need a plan. Tonight, I'm working on it. Work faster. They're filing soon. Drew put the phone down and opened her laptop again. She deleted the browser history, all of it, every search, real or fake. Then she opened a private window and searched for one thing: emergency custody filing procedures. The results loaded. She started reading. At 6, the cook knocked on her door. "Dinner's ready. I'll be down in a minute." She finished reading and closed the laptop. Then she went downstairs. James was already at the table, fork in hand. Drew sat across from him. "Where's Dad?" he asked. "Working." "Again?" "Yeah." They ate in silence. James finished first and asked to be excused. Drew let him go. She cleared the table and brought the dishes to the kitchen. The cook was loading the dishwasher. "I'll finish," Drew said. "You sure?" "Yes." The cook left. Drew finished loading the dishes, then wiped down the counters. Normal routine. Same as always. Her phone buzzed. A text from her lawyer. "Can you talk?" She called him from the kitchen. "I've been thinking about the file," he said. "We need to move fast." "How fast?" "Tomorrow. We file an emergency petition for custody. We argue that your husband is manipulating evidence and creating a false narrative. We ask for temporary sole custody while the court investigates." "Will they grant it?" "Maybe, if we can prove immediate harm to James." "What counts as immediate harm?" "Emotional manipulation, using the child as a tool in the custody battle, exposing him to the investigator's work." Drew thought about the photo in her husband's office, about yesterday's trip to see the fish tank. "He took James to his office yesterday," she said, "during school hours. He had him wait in the lobby while he got something." "Did James see anything?" "Hear anything?" "I don't know. He said he watched the fish." "We can use that. It shows he's involving James in his preparations." Drew heard footsteps in the hallway. She lowered her voice. "I need to go. Call me in the morning, early." She hung up as her husband entered the kitchen. He went to the refrigerator and pulled out a bottle of water. "James in bed?" he asked. "Almost." He opened the bottle and drank. "We should talk." "About what?" "About whatever's going on with you." Drew set the dish towel on the counter. "Nothing's going on. You've been distracted. Secretive. The staff has noticed." "The staff? They're concerned." "About what?" "About you. About James." He set the bottle down. "About whether you're stable enough to take care of him." Drew felt her pulse in her throat. "That's not their decision to make." "No. But it might become someone's." "Whose?" He didn't answer. He just looked at her with an expression she'd seen before. The one he used in negotiations. Calm, certain, already 3 moves ahead. "I think you should talk to someone," he said. "A professional." "A therapist?" "Someone who can help you sort through whatever you're dealing with." "I'm not dealing with anything." "Then why did you make up a meeting this morning?" She didn't answer. "Why did you come home early?" he continued. "Why did you take your laptop to a law office downtown?" Her stomach dropped. "You had me followed. I had you protected. There's a difference." "Protected from what?" "From yourself." He picked up the water bottle. "You're not well, Drew. I think you know that. I think that's why you've been looking at leaving. Why you've been researching custody law. Why you've been making plans without telling me." "I haven't made any plans. Your search history says otherwise." "That wasn't me." "Then who was it?" She couldn't answer, not without sounding exactly as unstable as he was claiming. He moved toward the door, then stopped. "I've scheduled an appointment for you. Dr. Brennan. Thursday at 10. "I'm not going." "It's not optional. If you want to remain in this house, if you want to continue having unsupervised time with James, you'll go. You can't force me. I can petition the court for an emergency evaluation. I can show them everything: the erratic behavior, the suspicious activity, the plans to flee with James. I can have you deemed unfit by the end of the week." Drew's hands were shaking. She pressed them against the counter. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" He smiled. Same negotiation smile. "Test me." He left the kitchen. Drew stood at the counter until her hands stopped shaking. Then she went upstairs and knocked on James's door. "Come in." He was in bed, reading. She sat on the edge of the mattress. "Hey," she said. "Hey. I love you. You know that, right?" He looked up from his book. "I know. No matter what happens, that doesn't change." His expression shifted. Something uncertain crossed his face. "What's going to happen?" "Nothing. I just wanted you to know." He didn't look convinced. "Mom? Yeah? Are you and Dad getting divorced?" The question hit her chest like a physical thing. "Why would you ask that?" "Because you're acting weird, and Dad keeps asking me questions about you." "What kind of questions?" "Like what you do when I'm at school, who you talk to, if you seem sad or angry." He set the book aside. "I told him you seem normal." "What did he say?" "He said that's good. Then he asked if you ever talk about moving." Drew's throat tightened. "What did you tell him?" "I said no." "Because you don't." She reached out and smoothed his hair back. "Thank you for being honest." "Are you getting divorced?" he asked again. She wanted to say no. She wanted to promise him everything would stay the same, but she couldn't. "I don't know," she said. "Maybe." His eyes filled. "I don't want you to." "I know, baby. I don't want to either." "Then don't." "It's complicated." "No, it's not. You just stay together." She pulled him into a hug. He was crying now, quiet and controlled, the way he'd learned to cry when he didn't want anyone to hear. "Whatever happens," she said, "you'll be okay." "I promise." "You can't promise that." "I can. And I do." She held him until he stopped crying. Then she tucked him in and turned off the light. In the hallway, her husband was waiting. "You told him," he said. He asked. "You shouldn't have answered." He deserved the truth. He deserved stability. You just took that away from him. Drew moved past him toward the bedroom. He followed. "This is what I'm talking about," he said. "Impulsive decisions. No consideration for the consequences." She spun around. "Don't." "Don't what?" "Don't pretend this is about James. This is about control. It's always been about control." "Control over what?" "Me. The house. The money. Everything." He laughed. Not a real laugh. A dismissive sound. "You think this is about money? I think it's about winning. I think you can't stand the idea that I might leave before you're ready to let me go." "I'm trying to help you." "By building a case against me? By manipulating evidence? By turning the staff against me?" His expression didn't change. "I don't know what you're talking about." "The investigator, the statements, the fake searches on my computer." "There's no investigator." "I saw him. I talked to him. You talked to someone. That doesn't mean he works for me." Drew felt the ground shift under her. "Rachel showed me the file." "Who's Rachel?" "Someone who knows what you're doing. Someone who's been through this exact thing. Someone who's filling your head with paranoid fantasies. It's not paranoid if it's real. Is it real, Drew? Or is it something you've convinced yourself is real because it's easier than admitting you need help?" She stared at him. He stared back, completely calm. "You're good," she said. "I'll give you that. You're very good." "I'm concerned. There's a difference. You're a liar. And you're unstable." He said it like a diagnosis, final and absolute. That's why you're seeing Dr. Brennan Thursday. That's why you're going to get the help you need. And if you don't, he paused. If you don't, I'll do what I have to do to protect our son. He left the room and closed the door behind him. Drew sat on the bed and pulled out her phone. She texted her lawyer. We're filing tomorrow. His response came immediately. First thing. I'll have the papers ready. She put the phone away and lay down, still dressed, staring at the ceiling. At midnight, she heard the garage door open. She got up and looked out the window. Her husband's car was backing out of the driveway. She waited until the taillights disappeared, then went to James's room. He was asleep, breathing steady. She closed his door and went downstairs. The house was dark except for the light in the kitchen. The cook was gone. The maid was gone. Only the night security guard stationed by the front door, unaware. Drew went to the study. The door was unlocked now. She turned on the light. The desk was clean except for a single folder. She opened it. Inside were the same documents from the USB drive Rachel had given her, plus new ones. A psychiatric evaluation request form already filled out. Her name, her date of birth, the recommended evaluator, Dr. Brennan. A preliminary custody petition dated for next week. Primary custody to the father, supervised visitation for the mother, and beneath that, a document she hadn't seen before, an emergency restraining order, temporary, ready to be filed, the grounds, threatening behavior toward the child, erratic mental state, flight risk. It was unsigned, undated, waiting. Drew photographed every page with her phone. Then she put everything back exactly as she'd found it and left the study. Upstairs, she packed a bag. Clothes for 2 days, toiletries, her laptop, the USB drive. She hid the bag in the back of her closet. Then she lay down again and waited for morning. At 7, her husband came home. She heard the garage door, his footsteps on the stairs. He went to his closet and changed clothes. Then he left again without speaking to her. At 8, Drew got up and got James ready for school. Normal routine, same as always. She drove him to school. The black sedan followed. At the drop-off line, she kissed James goodbye and watched him walk inside. Then she drove to her lawyer's office. He was waiting in the same windowless room. The papers were spread across the desk. Emergency petition for sole custody, he said, based on evidence tampering, manipulation, and emotional abuse of the child. Drew read through it. Every word precise, clinical, designed to paint her husband as calculating and dangerous. Will it work? She asked. It's our best shot. The court will review it today. If they grant a hearing, we'll be in front of a judge tomorrow. And if they don't? Then we file the regular petition and wait. But waiting gives him time to file his version first. Drew signed the papers. Her lawyer gathered them and stood. I'll file these within the hour. Stay available. The court might call you directly. What do I do in the meantime? Go home. Act normal. Don't give him any ammunition. She left the office and sat in her car. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. Hello? Mrs. Lawson? A woman's voice. Yes. This is Principal Morrison from James's school. We need you to come in. Drew's stomach dropped. Why? Is James okay? He's fine, but there's been an incident. We need to speak with you right away. I'll be there in 10 minutes. She drove back to the school. The black sedan followed. Inside, Principal Morrison was waiting in her office. So was her husband. Drew stopped in the doorway. What's going on? Please sit, the principal said. Drew sat. Her husband didn't look at her. James had an episode this morning, the principal said. In class, he became very upset, started crying, said he didn't want to be here. Is he hurt? Drew asked. No, but he's distressed. His teacher couldn't calm him down. We had to call you both. Drew looked at her husband. What did you do? I didn't do anything. He was fine when I dropped him off. Clearly, he wasn't. The principal folded her hands on the desk. James told his teacher that his parents are getting divorced. He said his mother told him last night. Drew felt the trap close. He asked me. I told him the truth. The truth, her husband repeated. That we might be getting divorced, that everything is uncertain, that his whole life might fall apart. I didn't say it like that. How did you say it? I told him I didn't know what would happen. I told him he'd be okay. The principal held up a hand. The specifics don't matter right now. What matters is that James is struggling and we need to support him. I'm recommending that we involve the school counselor. Fine, Drew said. I also think, the principal continued, that you both need to agree on what information James receives going forward. Mixed messages will only make this harder for him. Agreed, her husband said. Drew said nothing. Mrs. Lawson? Agreed. Good. James is with the counselor now. You can both see him before you leave. They walked to the counselor's office in silence. James was sitting on a small couch, eyes red. Mom, he said when he saw her. She went to him and knelt down. Hey, baby. I want to go home. I know. But you need to stay at school today. I don't want to. I know. But you have to. He started crying again. Drew held him until the counselor suggested it might be time for him to rejoin his class. Drew kissed his forehead. I'll see you this afternoon. Promise? Promise. She left him there and walked out to the parking lot. Her husband was already in his car, pulling away. Drew got in hers and called her lawyer. The school called, she said. James had a breakdown. My husband was already there. How did he know to be there? I don't know. But he made it look like my fault, like I caused it by telling James the truth. Did anyone witness what you said to James last night? No, it was just the two of us. Then it's your word against his interpretation. Drew watched the black sedan park across the street. This is falling apart. No, this is exactly what we expected. He's trying to provoke a reaction. Don't give him one. What do I do? Pick up James this afternoon, take him home, make dinner, normal routine, and wait for the court to call. Drew hung up and drove home. The house was empty. She went to her bedroom and pulled out the hidden bag. Then she stopped. If she ran now, she confirmed everything he was claiming. If she stayed, she walked into whatever he had planned next. She put the bag back and went downstairs. At 3, she picked up James. He was quiet in the car, staring out the window. How's the rest of the day? She asked. Okay. Just okay? Yeah. They drove in silence. The black sedan followed. At home, James went straight to his room. Drew started dinner. Normal routine. Her phone rang. A number she didn't recognize. She answered. Hello? Mrs. Lawson, this is Clerk Davidson from Family Court. Your petition has been reviewed. Drew's heart pounded. And? The judge has granted an emergency hearing. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. You and your husband are both required to attend. We'll be there. Bring all relevant documentation. The hearing will determine temporary custody pending further review. Understood. The clerk hung up. Drew texted her lawyer, "Hearing tomorrow." 9 a.m. His response, "I'll meet you there at 8:30. Bring everything." She put the phone down and finished making dinner. Her husband came home at 6. He went straight to the study and closed the door. At 6:30, Drew called James down for dinner. He came, but barely ate. At 7, her husband emerged and sat at the table. He ate in silence, then left without clearing his plate. Drew cleaned up. Normal routine. At 8, she put James to bed. At 9, she went to her room and pulled out the bag again. This time she didn't put it back. The courthouse was downtown, a gray building with too many stairs. Drew met her lawyer at the side entrance. He was carrying a file box. "Everything's in here," he said. "The fake searches, the witness statements, the investigator's report. We're showing them all of it." "What if it's not enough?" "It will be. We just need the judge to see the pattern." They went through security and up to the 4th floor. Her husband was already there, sitting on a bench outside the courtroom. His lawyer stood next to him, talking quietly. Drew didn't look at them. She followed her lawyer into the courtroom and sat at the plaintiff's table. At exactly 9, the judge entered. Everyone stood. "Be seated," the judge said. She was older, gray-haired, expression neutral. "We're here for an emergency custody hearing in the matter of Lawson versus Lawson. Counsel, you may begin." Drew's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we're requesting temporary sole custody for Mrs. Lawson, based on evidence of manipulation and emotional abuse by Mr. Lawson." Her husband's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we're requesting the same for Mr. Lawson, based on Mrs. Lawson's mental instability and flight risk." The judge looked between them. "You've both filed emergency petitions?" "Yes, Your Honor," both lawyers said. The judge picked up the files. "I'll hear the evidence. Mr. Crawford, you filed first. You may proceed." Drew's lawyer opened the file box. "Your Honor, over the past 3 weeks, Mr. Lawson has engaged in a coordinated effort to manufacture evidence of his wife's instability. This includes falsified browser searches, unauthorized financial transactions, and coerced statements from household staff. He presented the documents one by one, the USB drive contents, the fake search history, the bank record showing withdrawals Drew never made. We also have evidence," he continued, "that Mr. Lawson hired a private investigator to follow Mrs. Lawson and document her behavior in a deliberately misleading manner." The judge examined the papers. "Do you have proof that Mr. Lawson is responsible for these actions?" The investigator's report was commissioned by Mr. Lawson's law firm. The witness statements were given to the same firm, and the browser searches were made from Mrs. Lawson's computer while she was verifiably elsewhere. "That's circumstantial." "Yes, Your Honor, but the pattern is clear." The judge turned to the defense table. "Mr. Riley?" Her husband's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, these allegations are entirely unfounded. Mr. Lawson has been concerned about his wife's mental state for several weeks. He hired an investigator to ensure her safety, not to manufacture evidence. The browser searches were made by Mrs. Lawson herself as part of a plan to relocate with the child without Mr. Lawson's knowledge or consent. He presented his own documents, the psychiatric evaluation request, the school incident report from yesterday, character statements from the staff describing Drew's erratic behavior. We also have evidence, he said, that Mrs. Lawson told the child about the potential divorce without consulting Mr. Lawson, causing significant emotional distress. This demonstrates poor judgment and a lack of consideration for the child's well-being. Drew's lawyer stood. Your Honor, the child asked a direct question. Mrs. Lawson answered honestly. That's not poor judgment. That's respect for the child's intelligence. It's also, the judge said, a deviation from what most custody experts would recommend. Both parents should present a united front during a separation, especially to a young child. With respect, Your Honor, that's only possible when both parents are acting in good faith. Mr. Lawson has been building a case against his wife for weeks without her knowledge. There is no united front. The judge set the papers down. I'm going to hear from the child. Both lawyers went silent. Your Honor, Drew's lawyer said carefully, James is 9 years old. Old enough to express a preference. I'll speak with him in chambers. Alone. Drew felt her chest tighten. Your Honor, the judge looked at her. Mrs. Lawson, you'll have your turn to speak. But first I need to understand what the child wants. A bailiff left the courtroom. 5 minutes later, he returned with James. James looked small in his school uniform, walking between two adults in a room full of strangers. He saw Drew and started toward her. James, the judge said gently, come with me. He stopped, looked at Drew. She nodded. He followed the judge into her chambers. The door closed. Drew sat at the table, hands folded, trying to breathe normally. Her lawyer leaned over. This could go either way, he whispered. What will she ask him? Who he wants to live with? Who makes him feel safe? What his normal routine is like? He'll tell her the truth. The truth according to a 9-year-old who's scared and confused. That's not always helpful. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Finally, the door opened. James came out first, followed by the judge. He didn't look at anyone. The bailiff took him to a separate waiting room. The judge returned to the bench. Based on my conversation with the child, I'm making the following temporary orders. Everyone stood. Joint legal custody will remain in place. However, physical custody will be split. James will reside with Mr. Lawson during the week and with Mrs. Lawson on weekends. Both parents will have access to school, medical, and extracurricular information. Neither parent will relocate more than 50 miles from the child's current school without court approval. Drew's lawyer started to object. The judge held up a hand. These orders are temporary, pending a full custody evaluation. Both parents will undergo psychological assessment. Both will participate in co-parenting counseling. We'll reconvene in 6 weeks to review the findings. She banged the gavel. Court is adjourned. Drew stood there, watching her husband's lawyer shake his hand, watching him smile. She'd lost. Not completely, but enough. Her lawyer touched her arm. We'll appeal the temporary orders. This isn't over. But it felt over. That night, Drew packed James's school clothes into a bag. He sat on his bed, watching. I don't want to go, he said. I know. Why can't I just stay here? Because the judge said you have to spend weekdays with Dad. That's stupid. I know. She zipped the bag and sat next to him. It's only for a little while, just until they figure everything out. Figure what out? Who you should live with. I already know. What do you mean? The judge asked me. I told her I want to live with you. Drew felt something crack in her chest. What did she say? She said she'd think about it. Then she asked about Dad. I said he's fine. He works a lot. He doesn't really cook or help with homework, but he's nice. And then? And then she asked if I felt safe with both of you. I said yes, Because I do. Drew pulled him close. Thank you for telling the truth. Did it help? I don't know yet. He pulled away and looked at her. Mom? Yeah? What if they make me live with Dad all the time? They won't. How do you know? Because I'm going to fight for you, as hard as I can. What if you lose? She didn't answer. She just held him until it was time to take him to his father's house. The weeks blurred. Psychological assessments, co-parenting sessions, custody evaluations. Drew answered questions from strangers who took notes and made judgments. She smiled when required, stayed calm when provoked, and documented everything. Her husband did the same. The evaluator's report came back inconclusive. Both parents were deemed fit. Both had strong relationships with the child. Both had stable homes and adequate resources. The recommendation: continue joint custody with a more balanced schedule. The judge agreed. New orders: alternating weeks, split holidays, equal time. Drew's lawyer called it a win. You kept full access, that's what matters. But it didn't feel like a win. It felt like a draw in a game she never wanted to play. 6 months later, Drew signed the final divorce papers. The settlement was equitable: shared assets, shared custody, shared responsibility. Her husband signed without reading them. They filed jointly, no contest, no drama. The judge approved it in under 10 minutes. Outside the courthouse, her husband stopped her. I need to say something. Drew waited. I'm sorry, he said, for all of it. She looked at him. The man she'd married, the man she'd trusted, the man who'd built a case against her while she slept. No, you're not, she said. I am. I was trying to protect James. You were trying to win. He didn't deny it. Maybe at first. But then I realized. He stopped. I realized I was doing exactly what my father did, turning everything into a competition, making you the enemy just because you wanted to leave. And now I'm trying to be better. Drew adjusted her bag. You should try harder. She walked away. 1 year later, Drew stood in the kitchen of her new apartment, smaller than the house, quieter. James was at the table doing homework, his week with her. Her phone buzzed. A text from her lawyer. Thought you'd want to know. Your ex-husband dropped the custody modification petition. Drew stared at the screen. Her husband had filed 3 months ago, requesting a return to the original schedule. James with him during the week, Drew on weekends. Same argument. Stability, routine, the child's best interest. She'd been preparing to fight it. Why? She texted back. He didn't say, just withdrew it. Drew set the phone down. James looked up. Who was that? My lawyer. About Dad? Yeah? What about him? Nothing important? He went back to his homework. Drew watched him. This boy who looked like his father, but smiled like her. Hey, she said. Yeah? How do you feel about all of this? He shrugged. It's okay. I'm used to it now. Used to what? 2 houses. 2 rooms. Packing a bag every week. Is it hard? Sometimes. But it's better than before. Better how? You and Dad don't fight anymore, and you both seem happier. Drew hadn't thought about happiness in those terms, but he was right. The anger had faded. The tension had eased. What remained was a quiet distance, manageable and clean. I'm glad, she said. He smiled and returned to his math problems. Drew's phone buzzed again. Another text, this time from an unknown number. This is Rachel. Remember me? Drew typed. Yes. I heard about your case. Congratulations. It's not over. It never really is. But you survived. That's what matters. Drew looked at James, bent over his work, oblivious. "Thank you," she typed, "for everything. You did the hard part. I just showed you the map." The conversation ended. Drew deleted the number and put her phone away. 2 years later, James was 11 now, taller, quieter. He spent his weeks between 2 homes without complaint. His grades were good. His friends were constant. He'd learned to pack his own bag, manage his own schedule, navigate the logistics of a divided life. Drew had learned to let him. She stood at the soccer field, watching him run drills with his team. Her week, her responsibility. Across the field, her ex-husband stood with a woman Drew had never seen before. Mid-30s, professional clothes, careful posture. They weren't touching, but the distance between them was familiar, intimate. Drew felt nothing. The game started. James played midfielder, focused and aggressive. When he scored, both parents cheered. Afterward, James ran to Drew first. "Did you see?" "I saw. You were amazing." Her ex-husband approached with the woman. "James, this is Claire." James looked at her. "Hi." "Hi, James. Your dad talks about you all the time." James nodded but didn't respond. He turned back to Drew. "Can we get ice cream?" "Sure." They left. Drew didn't look back. In the car, James was quiet. "You okay?" Drew asked. "Yeah." "You sure?" He stopped. "Is Dad going to marry her?" "I don't know. Would that bother you?" "I don't know." Drew drove in silence for a block. Then she said, "It's okay if it does. It's okay if it doesn't. You don't have to know how you feel about everything right away." "Did you know? When you left Dad?" "Not at first. But eventually." "How did you know?" "I realized I was spending more energy protecting myself than building a life. That's when I knew it was time." He absorbed that. "Do you think Dad knew?" "I think he knew something was wrong, but he didn't know how to fix it without controlling it." "Is that why he tried to make you look crazy?" Drew glanced at him. "Who told you that?" "I heard you and Grandma talking. Last Christmas." She'd forgotten he was in the next room. "Yeah, that's why. That was messed up." "It was. But you're okay now." "I'm okay now." He relaxed into his seat. "Good." They got ice cream. Drew watched him eat, chocolate coating his lips, completely present in the moment. She envied that, the ability to move on without carrying everything forward. 3 years later, James was 12, nearly 13. He'd grown 6 inches in a year. His voice was changing. He spent more time in his room, less time talking. Drew had learned to read the silence. One Friday, he came home from his father's house earlier than expected. She was in the kitchen, grading papers. She'd gone back to teaching part-time when he walked in. "You're early," she said. "Dad had something." He set his bag down. "Can I talk to you?" "Of course." They sat at the table. He didn't look at her. "Dad's getting married," he said. "To Claire?" "Yeah, next month." "How do you feel about it?" "I don't know. He asked if I'd be okay with it. I said yes." "Are you?" "I think so. Claire's nice. She doesn't try too hard." "That's good." "But," he stopped. "But what?" "He wants me to move in with them full time. He said it would be more stable, that I wouldn't have to keep switching houses." Drew felt the floor shift. "What did you say?" "I said I'd think about it." "And have you?" "Yeah." She waited. "I don't want to," he said. "I like it this way. I like having 2 places. I like that you're both separate, and I don't have to worry about you fighting." "We wouldn't fight." "I know, but it would be weird. And I don't want weird." Drew reached across the table and took his hand. Then tell him that. He'll be disappointed. Maybe, but he'll understand. You think? I do. He nodded. Okay. That night, Drew called her ex-husband. He answered on the third ring. Drew, James talked to me. I figured he would. He doesn't want to move in with you. Silence. Then, did you tell him to say that? No. I told him to tell you the truth. More silence. I thought it would be easier for him. One home, one routine. And it's easier for you. Not for him. That's not fair. It's accurate. He sighed. Fine, I'll drop it. Thank you. She hung up. 4 years later, James was 14, high school, new friends, new interests, new distance. Drew saw him less now, not because of the custody schedule. They'd kept the alternating weeks, but because he was busy. Sports, clubs, studying. He came home, ate, disappeared into his room. Normal, she told herself. Normal adolescent separation. One Saturday, her week, he came into the kitchen where she was reading. Can I ask you something? He said. Always. He sat across from her. Do you ever regret it? Leaving Dad? The question caught her off guard. Why do you ask? Because I've been thinking about it. About how different things would be if you'd stayed. Different how? I don't know. Maybe easier. Easier for who? He shrugged. Everyone. Drew closed her book. Leaving your father was the hardest thing I've ever done. Not because I didn't want to, but because I knew it would change everything, including your life. Do you think it was worth it? Yes. Why? Because staying would have meant teaching you that it's okay to live in a situation that makes you smaller, and I never wanted you to learn that. He absorbed this. Were you smaller? I was becoming smaller every day. And now? Now I'm the size I'm supposed to be. He smiled. That's a weird way to put it. But true, he stood. Thanks, Mom. For what? For being honest. He left the kitchen. Drew sat there, holding her book, not reading. 5 years later, James was 15, driver's permit, part-time job, girlfriend. He moved through the world with a confidence Drew still marveled at. One Sunday, her week, he asked if they could talk. Sure, she said. What's up? I need to tell you something, and I need you to not be mad. Her stomach tightened. Okay. I want to stay with Dad full time, just for junior year. The words landed like stones. Why? Because his house is closer to school, and my job, and Sarah's house. It just makes more sense logistically. Logistically? Yeah, I mean I'd still see you. Just not every week. Drew made herself breathe. Is this what you want? Or what your father wants? It's what I want. Dad didn't even suggest it. I brought it up. When? Last week. And what did he say? He said I should talk to you first. Of course he did. Let her be the one to say no. Let her be the difficult parent. What about senior year? She asked. I don't know. Maybe the same. Or maybe I'll switch back. I just need to see what works. Drew looked at her son, nearly as tall as his father now, almost a man. Okay, she said. Okay? Yes. If that's what you need, then okay. You're not mad? I'm not mad. He hugged her quick and tight. Thanks, Mom. After he left, Drew sat on the couch and let herself cry. Not because she'd lost, but because she'd done what she promised. She'd let him choose. 6 years later, James was 16. Driver's license, college lists, plans that didn't include her. He came to visit every other weekend now, sometimes less. He called when he remembered, texted when he needed something. Drew had learned not to take it personally. One Friday, he showed up unannounced. She was surprised to see him. "I thought you had plans," she said. "I did." They changed. He came inside and dropped his bag. "Can I stay the weekend?" "Of course." They ordered pizza and watched a movie. Normal, easy. During a quiet moment, he said, "I need to tell you something." Drew muted the TV. "What?" "Dad's moving. He and Claire bought a house in Portland." Her chest tightened. "When?" "This summer, after I graduate." "That's across the country." "I know." "Did he ask you if you wanted to go?" "Yeah." "And?" "I said no. I'm going to college here. I'm not following him to Portland." Drew felt something loosen. "Where are you going to live?" "I don't know. Maybe with you, if that's okay." "It's more than okay." He smiled. "Good." They finished the movie. Drew didn't ask about his father's reasons for moving. She didn't need to. 7 years later, James was 17. Graduation cap, college acceptance letters, future spreading out before him. Drew sat in the bleachers watching him walk across the stage. Her ex-husband sat 3 rows ahead with Claire. They'd moved to Portland 2 months ago. Flew back for this. When James's name was called, they all stood and cheered. Afterward, at the reception, James found Drew first. "We did it," he said. "You did it." "No, we. You got me through this." She hugged him. "You got yourself through it. I just showed up. That's all I needed." Her ex-husband approached. "Can I talk to you?" Drew nodded. They stepped away from the crowd. "I wanted to say thank you," he said, "for everything, for being flexible, for not making this harder than it had to be." "You're welcome. I mean it. You could have fought me. On the schedule, the move, all of it. But you didn't." "I fought for what mattered. The rest was just logistics." He smiled. "That's a good way to put it." They stood there. 2 people who used to share a life, now sharing only a son. "He's going to be fine," Drew said. "I know. Because of you. Because of both of us." He nodded. "Yeah. Both of us." 8 years later. James was 18, college freshman, new life, new independence. Drew helped him move into his dorm. His father was supposed to come but canceled last minute. Work emergency. James didn't seem bothered. "It's fine. I've got you." They unpacked boxes, set up his room, said goodbye in the parking lot. "Call me if you need anything," Drew said. "I will." "I'm serious." "I know." He hugged her and walked back to his building. Drew watched until he disappeared inside. Then she drove home to her empty apartment and sat in the quiet. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rachel after all these years. Saw on social media that James started college. "Congratulations." Drew smiled. "Thank you. You made it. We both did." "Yeah, we did." Drew put her phone down and looked around her small apartment. Not the house she'd left, not the life she'd planned, but hers, entirely hers. She'd won, not in the courtroom, not in the custody battle, but here, in this quiet space, where no one questioned her decisions or tracked her movements or built cases against her credibility. She'd won by surviving, by refusing to shrink, by showing her son that leaving was possible, and that was enough. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Mr. Douglas Tales, where powerful stories unfold one moment at a time.